Hi.
Welcome to
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, and you. Welcome to OzChat. I haven't said that for so long. If there's ever a reason to start OzChat again, it's to talk to you. You're a fucking genius. I love it. Look at that mug. Hold up. People are going to think I'm swearing at you.
Yeah, it was a gift from my work colleagues. It had a sticker over the U, but I took it off.
Hi. It's lovely to see you today.
Oh, hi. Thanks for having me.
Then you've backed away. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Okay. So in a really formal way, congratulations on your amazing novel, The Boy From The Mish. I've even got another copy
thanks
behind
so much.
me. Look at
Yeah,
that. You're it's a perspective shot. You see that?
Yeah, that's
I keep telling myself I'm going to do one as a giveaway. And then I'm like, but maybe I could just keep two. Because I want them. Because I'm a reader who puts stuff in and annotates and scribbles all over the place, and yours is just I'm underlining in all different colors. Not that they actually mean anything. It's just because I have different pencils to hand. But in the past, it would have been more coordinated. There's so much to underline and to put in, and I'm finding stuff, and then I'm thinking, I wish I was an academic because I want to do an essay on feet, and I wanted to use this. I want to just talk about feet and shoes and bare feet. And as someone who has sensory issues, I can't get past the feet thing. Let's make that my first proper question. Sorry, I hope someone warned you about OzChat and me. So, how do you feel about footwear in The Boy From The Mish? That was me being sensible. Did you hear that?
Well, I knew going into it that Jackson would be very much a kid who would walk around barefoot at any opportunity. And he'd have cheap shoes from the supermarket. That was just sort of something that I wasn't really conscious of, but it just came out in the writing.
Were you like that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I hated wearing shoes when I was a kid. Anytime I'd only really wear shoes if I had to go to the shops or if I had to go to school.
Yep, school.
But yeah, if I wasn't in a public place, I was barefoot basically.
We used to do things you'd wear socks around the house because you were cold, but if you had to go and get the mail, you'd take them off because you don't want them to get dirty. And then I went to England and I had these habits, and people are like, what? You weren't allowed to go barefoot, and they had carpet, and it was all, it wasn't like here where you get. So I would go barefoot around the house. I remember this in a friend's house, stayed over, and they were appalled. They just kept offering me things. They kept offering me slippers or socks or something because they just couldn't stand the fact that I was walking barefoot around the house, which was, it's not tiles, which are cold. It was carpets. I'm great. I don't even have to wear, so this is going on that. But
and it was just, I feel like it's very freeing to not have to wear shoes. In a similar way, to not have to wear clothes, but you just feel sort of more in tune with the earth and nature. I don't know where I'm going with that.
No, but you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Because it's made me realize how, as a parent, you get kind of petrified of the stepping on glass thing. In there. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm so obsessed with the feet.
Well, it is a very sort of cultural thing as well. If you've watched that Adam Goods documentary, he talks about how whenever he goes home, he takes off his shoes and puts his feet on the land and digs them into the dirt and really connects with the country again. I think of it as a more cultural thing. But yeah, it's just very much how I was as a kid, and I definitely wanted to put that through Jackson because he's at home. That's the whole area is his home, and he's just comfortable walking around without shoes.
But also, and I did think, no, I'm so sorry. This is why we call it OzChat rather than an interview, because you get like a stream of thoughts at least. And back when I started this, which was just like a COVID response, it was more like, are you okay? You know, what are you doing? Are you locked up? Do you have toilet paper? Like that was kind of like the purpose of Oz Chat. And then it became, hi, and you released a book. But I'm not an interviewer, I'm an author. So I'm interested in what you've done, like with your text, like the way you wrote like a breakup scene. I don't think it's like a spoiler because it's near the beginning. The way you wrote like the most tender breakup scene I think I've ever read. Oh no, that was like, it's so tender. I think that you did that really well.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I wanted it to be like a very tender thing where, you know, Tisha still cares about him, but you know, Jackson, he knows that that's not the relationship he wants to be in. And I wanted it to be very tender. I didn't want it to be you know, like an angry breakup or anything like that, because then I thought it might detract from the story a bit as well. So I definitely went into it trying to make it as tender as I could, make it as respectful as I could, and I wanted to leave it with, you know, while there is sadness, it's sort of okay.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a little bit of a feeling in Jackson that he's going to be okay. So yeah, that was definitely how I approached it.
Yeah, and you're not there's no sort of demonizing of the women in the here. That's really, you've added a lot of layers there so that there's no way you could kind of say that there's, you know, you followed any sort of stereotype gender wise in the novel in terms of like, you know, oh, she's just going to be this flipping out kind of girl while he's this sensitive guy. It was all just so, for me, and that's the way I kind of approach things. It's just, these are just people, like real people. And when I watch my own teenage children doing things, this is more like what I see. It's like we're going to talk and then you go and talk. We're going to talk and then you go and talk. But so how has the release been going? Response has been really good. You've been on like TV and everywhere.
Yeah, like that first month was really hectic, really overwhelming. So yeah, I had the TV appearances. I had so many radio interviews, and like it was just very overwhelming for that first month. I think once, maybe 3 weeks after release, it sort of settled down a bit. I had like maybe 1 or 2 interviews a week for a little bit, and then it sort of died down completely. And then now I don't know what's happened, but I've started getting interviews again after maybe like 3 weeks or 4 weeks of nothing. So I'm doing interviews again now for the past couple of weeks. And now I've got the Sydney Writers Festival and the Brisbane Writers Festival to look forward to. So yeah, it's been really overwhelming. I definitely didn't expect there to be as much interest as there has been.
Why
yeah,
not?
that's just great.
It's huge. You wrote an awesome book with an amazing publisher, I have to say. And
yeah.
And I think everyone's like ready for it. I think everyone was ready for the Boy From The Mish. I think it's like the perfect timing, and I'm just so glad to see the take up as well. Like, and to get to speak with you at Brisbane Writers Festival, where I will be a lot more like sensible. No, I won't. I'll try really hard. I'll be quite sensible. I'll be quiet. It's a panel, so I'll sit there and try not to be Anna about it all. I'll be Dr. Whateley.
Well, I'm very much like, if I'm with a group of friends, if there's like 4 or 5 of us, I'm definitely more sort of the sit back and listen person. So it's going to be weird to have to talk.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah,
you have to actually manage us as well.
I'm gonna have to sort of push myself out of the comfort zone. But yeah, it's been like I've done a few in-person things as well. But like your book came out, it was just during COVID, wasn't it?
Right at the beginning, yeah.
Yeah. So how was all that for you with the like the interviews and stuff?
There's probably not a lot in terms of radio and things, because the media was just so obsessed with COVID. Like there just wasn't space for the arts at all. And if there was space, it wasn't really, like I had a few things about about what have you done about COVID and all that sort of stuff, where we got to kind of plug the launching platforms that we'd come up with and talk. That was really nice. But mostly I just had started all my own stuff anyway, like the OzChat thing, unrelatedly, which is not about my own novel, but you just I got to be part of a community through it, even though I wasn't going to places and actually chatting to anyone. Like there were no green rooms, there was nowhere where you meet people like that you're going to be sort of colleagues with in a distant way. But I feel like that we kind of sorted that by doing enough online stuff. I thought it was great. I actually kind of enjoyed it.
I sort of felt like there was less pressure into doing the online chats. Whereas I feel, I think I did my book launch in person. So I think that was like the peak of my nervousness and anxiety. But after that, I've sort of been okay. I did a talk back at my old high school, and I was completely fine. Like I was completely comfortable once I got started. But yeah, I think I'm a very much a reserved, sort of quiet person. So I've had to step right out of my comfort zone with this book, just because so many people want to talk about it. So I have to force myself to, try and be outgoing and have things to say. But yeah, it's been really interesting. I think I'm definitely more confident as a speaker now. But it was really funny coming from that first sort of radio interview where I know my voice is really shaky and I was really struggling to find what I was trying to say. But now I'm okay. So
yeah,
it's really interesting how the whole thing changes, like everything that you think you are.
Yeah,
it
does. And then you think, I didn't realize how often I'd have to say the pitch line. Like I just did a podcast interview yesterday, and she's like, "So tell me what the book's about then. Give me a rundown." I'm like, "What?" I can't remember. Jesus, I'm like doing another book right now. So I'm like, I can tell you about another one, the next thing, because that's what's in my head. And then I'm like, what did I write again? I'm like, Peter Lau. And I gave the most garbled version of, I think, probably half the first pitch line I ever wrote that never went through, and then a bit of the blurb. And then I ended on, it's like, Veronica, I'm sorry. I don't even remember. I know, but I want to tell you the whole of it. I don't want to tell you the filtered version. And I also kind of think to myself, doesn't everyone know by now? Aren't you bored hearing me say the same things again and again? But they're not. And they really want you to say the same things. You must have been through that where you're just repeating. You feel like you're just repeating yourself.
Yeah, I've definitely got to a stage where I get a lot of the same questions and my answers are always pretty much exactly the same, or they might change very slightly.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to add a bit more variety in my answering these days. It was really weird having a few weeks off of having to talk about the book, and then I did a radio interview, and I had to sort of get back in that the way of explaining it all, and I found that I was really nervous again, but just because I was forgetting the answers that I'd practiced and that I'd been used to giving, and so I don't know if I was giving any good answers for that one, but yeah, it's been really strange. It's a really weird thing.
It's really surreal because we do live in our own heads and often alone, in what we do. Writing's on the whole, a solitary activity. And then you also, I get the feeling you'd be on the same wavelength of, well, people read it and they make their meaning out of it. And that's their job. That's what they want to do. I can't tell you that kind of, I'll be interfering in that process in a way. And so answering the questions kind of feels a little bit like you're tampering with someone's reading of something that's now apart from you. It's not part of you anymore. You let go of that thing and you put it out there. It's now its own object. And whenever you have to speak about what it might mean, it's I don't know, I feel like it messes with that,
Yeah. I've definitely had a few questions, mostly about why I set it in this certain place, or where I've drawn my inspiration from, or like what I was trying to say with certain things. But yeah, it's kind of like you don't really want to answer it because yeah, it's up to it could mean different things to different readers. So, and I think that is very magical. So I don't want to give an answer and then a reader who had a different idea hears that interview and then they're thinking, oh, I was wrong.
Yeah.
You meant this other thing. But yeah. And a lot of these things I wrote in this book, I didn't plan. So they just came out of me as I'm writing. I have no idea. I don't even know where the idea came from, to be honest, like of the actual story. Yeah, it's hard to, I don't know. Are you a plotter or a pantser?
Pantser.
Yeah, me too.
Plotting
So I'm just
ruins me.
writing.
Yeah. And it's like I didn't consciously choose much at all. Do you ever fudge an answer, like pretend you chose? Because everyone just wants you to say you did. Confessions.
I think I've definitely said something that wasn't true, but I just made it up. I might have been answering where I got the idea from, or like where the idea of the Boy From The Mish came from, and I really can't remember where it came from. It just sort of happened, and I think I gave an answer. I can't remember what it was, but it was definitely not the case.
I give completely different versions of it. Like,
yeah,
they might all be kind of true, but it's not like it was one thing or the other. Like, or if they say, "Why did you write this novel?" I'm like, "Do you mean write it up? Why did I write this one and not another one? Or why did I write one at all? Or why did I choose to write?" So I'm like, be specific, because otherwise you'll get something random from me because I could take any angle, Yeah, and obviously I'd ramble on at anyone about anything. And then I realize I've not answered the question at all. But sometimes that's good because, sometimes the questions are crap. But
yeah, what's happened to me is sometimes I'll start rambling on about something that was slightly related to the question. I'll forget what the question was, so I'll have to ask again. I just feel stupid because I heard it and I was trying to answer it, and then I've forgotten what the point was. But yeah, I definitely get in stages where I start to ramble or I just go off on a tangent about something unrelated because it had like a word similar to what I was trying to say. Yeah, so
yep, we're pantsers though.
It's fun trying to hone that in. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
It's like trying to ask an interview question. I'm sitting there thinking, is this all the questions people have been asking you and I should have been saying? But I never do, because I think, especially at this point, after you've done that many interviews, and people who watch us tend to be like the authors, as other authors as well. And so they want to know more like probably the weird stuff, but also the you bit, like how you're going and they probably want to know about your process and stuff, but I hate those questions too. What are you writing now, though? Let's go, because you've probably got something else going and in your head right now. Like,
I'm sort of, yeah. I wrote another manuscript, which I finished. It was sort of, I guess I'm sort of trying to decide between these two ideas. So I've got like a YA, it's another queer romance story, which I've written like a first chapter. It's sort of hard to, I guess I'm still in those early stages of figuring what the story is and trying to feel it out. And then I've got this other idea for like a Goosebumps type children's book series, but like they're Aboriginal kids. But it's just like these 4 Aboriginal friends just, going and facing all these different like monsters and things like that. So yeah, I'm feeling very creatively fresh right now. But at the same time, I've just got so much going on in my head that it's hard to sort of sit down and focus on something and really, put all my attention and resources into one thing.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm still working on stuff.
Yeah. I kind of don't want, as a pantser, it's like I don't want to sit down and I want to kind of wait until I'm allowed to do the whole thing. Like I can write a chapter or two, I can write the first bit, but I need to know I've got time, like space, to let that to actually finish it, because I can't write. If I write the wrong thing, I'll get all confused. Like if I push too hard to do it in little bits, I need to, and especially writing in voice, like heavily in, I like write, quite, I don't know how to say it, very much in a voice. And it's like, you can't just pick that up and drop it all the time. You just have to kind of go in like head first. And so I want to be able to write the whole thing in one go, because it's a bit
I sort of get like a chapter or two in, and then I realize it's a different story. Then I go back and start from scratch, and it's usually much better. It's weird. But yeah, like I can't plan too much. Like if I do, I just lose interest, or I get bogged down on the complications and how I'm going to solve these problems, and then I just give up because I can't figure it out right now.
Well, it's like, if you plan it, it's like all the answers. Novels or writing for me is asking questions. It's like I don't know the answers. I'm asking the question. That's why I'm writing it. It's to find out. And then if I know, I'm like, oh, like you say, you get kind of bored. And then I get like, I don't want to fill gaps between here and there. Like that's not an exploration. So the one time I tried to do that, I ended up, it just kept stalling. And then I just made my character like blurt everything out that I'd planned. And then it was open and free. And I was like, oh, okay, clearly I'm never going to write a mystery because I just told everyone what happened. But then it was open and I was asking questions again, instead of trying to find out how to give the answers, I was exploring forwards and asking the questions, which is so much more engaging when you're writing. I find.
Yeah. And I think the version of The Boy From The Mish that we finished with, there was nothing in there that I just chucked in because I needed to fill space or so it was like everything mattered. There was no filler or anything like that. So that was something I was really happy with, and I think that's only that's the case because I was discovering it all as I was writing it, and so everything mattered to get me to the next scene or I definitely struggled a lot through the middle. I think by the time I got to the middle, I sort of had an idea of the ending, or I sort of knew the ending. So in my head, I'm like, oh, okay, I've got to get to this. And then, then the middle, I started losing interest a little bit. So I just decided to chuck in some problems, and I started making things go terribly wrong, which was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun writing the book. I definitely love that my sort of lean is towards being a pantser, because I can, it's just a lot more fun, I think. Well, for me, than when I have to sit down and I've tried to plot, and it's not for me. No. I tried with this latest project that I'm working on, and it's just I'm not interested in it. It's just I need to discover it as I'm putting the words on the page.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And I like that in the novel there are some big hooks in there that keep you reading, but it's often just a really gentle hook. So you don't feel manipulated. I didn't feel manipulated into keeping on reading. Like sometimes, I don't know, sometimes when you're reading, you're thinking, oh, that was a really good one. Now I've got to keep turning, but you do feel a bit like it was so intentional in a way, whereas yours are just such a gentle need to keep knowing. And so you're kind of brought along on that process of exploration. So it's just like, but I just want to know, but it's not I don't know how you did that, but it makes me feel like as a writer, I'm kind of relieved into thinking, oh, okay, it doesn't always have to be, I don't know, I guess I find it freeing to think there are a lot of ways to write that, that hook, that best bad choice, or the irreconcilable goods, like which way do I go forward to push the urgency in the narrative, but without making it it's not always a giant drama. Sometimes it's more gentle than that. So I liked that.
Yeah, like I knew I definitely wanted to focus on the internal sort of battle that Jackson had. I definitely wanted to keep in that train of thought that what he's feeling on the inside. I wanted to highlight that, and I really explore that rather than, he goes out and meets this person and goes to this place. I wanted to focus a lot more on the internal struggle. But yeah, that being said, like the story all came out very organically as I was writing it. Like to finish a draft, it was very easy. I felt like I didn't really struggle with any aspects of the story until I got to the editing where I'd read it back and I realized I had problems here and there. But yeah, the whole drafting process was very easy. Yes.
It's so annoying.
Yes,
it's like, okay, so it's inconsistent, but it's just like what I wrote, and can't it just be inconsistent? And they say no, and then you get annoyed, and then they're right. And they're right. You're like, oh. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't argue very often. Did you have any like actual arguments over what you should change?
No, I had a great relationship with my editor. I think the only major change we made was we moved the scene from the ending to the middle, and that was the only major story change we did. So the changes were very minimal. There wasn't a lot to alter. I didn't have any arguments. We had a really good relationship. I think
were you with Elise?
My editor just yes, Elise.
You were? So lovely, Elise. She was like my first
she just understood
Alan and Unreal. Oh no, she's really? Just like the only person really, because she comes up to the Brisbane CYA conference where people pitch and stuff. Right. So I met her there, and she's just like coming home, and we just were just so the same, and we just sat there and were like blah, 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 the whole time. And I love her, and I love everything she produces as well. Like, man, I do feel really lucky that we're with. I mean, I love my team too in the same way, but it's nice to know now like how it works a little bit more. Like an editor's got this process of maybe finding certain things that, and if you know that, I would never have known this before, but by knowing that editor and that they had a hand in bringing something out, you're like, oh, I know I'm going to like it. Like I know if she chose to publish that, I'm going to like it. Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, she I think, like there was a whole, the whole story with the Jackson's mum and Aunty Pam doing their painting. Like that all didn't exist until Elise told me I had to have more stuff happening with these other characters. And like all those things, she just understood the story, and she understood what I was trying to say. She really related to Jackson and his voice, and I was just very lucky that we just clicked and we were both on the same page. I think everyone at Alan and Owen that I dealt with, we've always been on the same page with the story. And, so I've never had any grievances or, it's been really smooth sailing actually.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they stop me worrying about things. Like I'll go in and say, oh, I should really do this because, people were saying this about the first novel, and maybe I should try and blah, blah, blah. And they've just gone, no. No.
Right.
You just do what you do and we'll be there, and don't worry about anything that, it was probably two people that said this, or, don't change what you're doing. And that was really reassuring to think, oh, okay, maybe I'm not, maybe I don't need to, just to feel confident to go forward as I'd started, really. Like I think to instill confidence in someone is difficult, and they do it really well. So.
Yeah, and it's I felt a little bit of pressure just because there's been so much interest in the Boy From The Mish that I have to write stories that are exactly like this, or copy the formula, or all very, very much the same. And like Elise and the others have all, this is, it's all about making you feel confident as a writer, and and it's you as a writer that they love. It doesn't matter, they're not going to pigeonhole you or anything.
No,
that's definitely the sense I get from those guys. That they're just interested in reading what you write, which is great.
Isn't it great?
Yeah, it's really nice.
We're pretty lucky.
Yes, I'm just I could sit here gushing over them all day.
I know. Sorry, they're just probably all there going, "Oh my god!" No, that's really good. Yeah. And I know we should go. We should stop. But I was going to say, do you find, I get your question out, Anna. Do you find a lot of pressure to have the second book released within a certain time frame, or are you feeling like you're open there in terms of like, oh, it should be 1 year after or 2 years after, or?
Yeah, I guess my fantasy is that I'll be like Stephen King and I'll release a book every year, or 2 books every year. I'll just keep writing, keep releasing books, and yeah, like that's my ultimate dream. But yeah, I definitely talked to other writers about it as well, and yeah, I guess it comes when it comes. I don't want to I don't want to be one of those writers who publishes their second books 15 years later, but yeah, I'm not right now feeling any pressure to get something out straight away, or because writing The Boy From The Mish, it was just me writing in my room, and that's where the magic happened, because it was all in my head. It was just me, and writing since getting the book deal and since having the book out as at times felt like I've got this big audience sort of watching me and worrying about what I'm writing. All these people are going to read it once I finish it. Whereas when I was writing The Boy From The Mish, it was just for my eyes.
Yep.
And then it wasn't going to be critiqued or anything. It was just me getting this story out of my head. Whereas after getting the book deal and getting the book published, it's feeling like there's going to be all these other eyes and all these other stuff.
Are we back? Hang on, sorry, just broke up for a second.
Yes.
We're breaking apart.
I'm just trying to.
I know what you mean though, like that. You feel like, and you've got to get rid of the eyes. You've got to get rid of everyone watching you in your head, and that takes time. I didn't realize launching a book would go for so long as well. Like there are the lows, and then there's like, I'm a year on now. I'm like an ancient author now. Well, I'm ancient anyway, but I'm like the experienced 1 year anniversary coming up, debuted novelist, and I'm thinking, I don't think I could do it again this year anyway. I'm still recovering from doing it last year. Like, I know,
right?
Like, because my next one's next year, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness, because I couldn't this year handle, I think, doing that, because I'll be writing this year as well as the editing, and I'm like, how would I find time to do anything new? And yeah, I don't think I could cope with doing it too soon. I think I'm like maybe a little bit more space than the 1 a year, although I definitely write fast enough I could do 1 a year. That doesn't mean that they need to kind of come out, because what if I get like a 10-year lull in inspiration? We're like, oh, let's just dig out these other manuscripts.
And then like, are you sacrificing quality by trying to push things out quickly? It's like it's a weird thing. And I think since I started having to promote the book as well, I'm back at the Mish and with these characters, so it's really hard to it was hard to get back into that space, and now it's hard to get back out.
You start writing the same place. I kept writing the same place, which is how come accidentally the second book is set in the same place. And in the end we were like, I said, oh, maybe I should make this overt, and just it is actually the same place, like because it was, and I needed to get that out, I think. And then and then I do have another one that's set somewhere else, and it was so fresh and new, but it felt really weird when stuff was going on that was all Peter Lyle related. Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah. So like right now I'm just trying to and then I'm gonna have to go and talk about the book for the next, like I'm gonna have to keep talking about it. So
you'll be doing
I'm just trying to distance myself a little bit so I can focus on other things, and we'll see. But yeah, I'm trying not to rush it at this point. I'll try to push away the other eyes and the other opinions, and just let the story be for me at this point, because that's where the magic comes from.
Yeah. Oh, you've got magic. You got star stuff in you, and out it comes. It's awesome. That's a very romantic note to end on. But congratulations. Thank you so much for coming on Chat. Everyone needs to read Boy From The Mish because I never say that. Actually, I've just realised. I don't ever like really plug like someone's book like much on Chat. But this one I'm very happy to. And I'm thinking that it's going to be in all the libraries. That's where we want them for me anyway. School libraries for me is like key. I really want all the school libraries having our books. Good luck. I'm going to wave really naffly now and you're going to wave back because it's hard not to.
Oh, okay.
Bye.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Anna.